Have you seen that EP Yarns Facebook group?
Yeah, yeah.
That's one of the things that's happened that's new.
Yeah.
And that's simply people sharing their content that they already have.
Yeah, that's a good site.
It's ripper, isn't it?
Yeah, I like
so many people putting all that stuff up.
Yeah, I enjoy reading it.
Yeah. Old photographs, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the history group have a bit to do with that as well.
They're certainly part of it because it's such a great history exercise, you know. And I certainly use it because you've got a search function on there, and you can, you know, you put a search in there and you get photographs of stuff that you wouldn't even know where to start to look.
Yeah.
But someone's actually posted it, and I think there's about 30 or 40 posts a day. So
Oh wow. That's
and people put up, you know.
So who's doing it?
Humps, Neil. He was one of the very first people I wrote an article about for the Sentinel when I went up there. Brenton Wren, and it was still getting laid out by Barney in Port Lincoln at that stage.
Yeah.
For the first couple of weeks I was up there. So this was laid out by Barney and Brenton. He said they've just changed the keg size. They brought in a new keg. And he said, that's a great story. And I went, oh, doesn't sound like a great story. But anyway, he was like, yep, get down to the pub there and do a story on the, and it turned out it was a great story because it was really significant. And Humps, who was the guy I went and interviewed because he was working at the Ceduna pub.
Yeah.
So where did the idea come from for EP Yarns, Neil?
I can tell you that. Yeah. Farm Beach. Mm-hmm. And there was a lady in Adelaide, who started the page, and it was strictly family history then, and Lauren, her name's Lauren Waters, and there was a fella by the name of Goog Jones, a very famous Port Lincoln family, the Joneses.
Yep.
Goog and Snow were brothers.
Yep.
And it was all about Goog Jones's shack and his acceptance by the Wangari people, Lake Wangari people.
Yeah.
He was one of the early shacks at Farm Beach.
Oh, yeah.
And they pulled it down now, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny that I said to her, she added yarns into the... Because we're anecdotal, we're an anecdotal page as well, because I tend to not believe, except for you, not to believe newspapers and what's written in them particularly greatly.
Well, you're right.
And family, if you add the family stories to the newspaper story, you probably get something in the middle that's is closer to the truth, I would say. And you know, we had a great thing on a Elliston character, a fellow by the name of Willie the Rabbit. And you know, that was in the early days of our page being what it is now, and it took off. You know, everybody had a story about Willie the Rabbit. And he lived just south of Elliston, and I can tell you one funny one that came up was he used to do a few jobs for the matron of the Elliston Hospital, and she wanted him to remove, they got Norfolk Island pines at the front of the, still I think, Elliston Hospital, and she wanted him to pull down the bird's nest out of it. And he looked at her and he shook his head and he laughed. He said, my name's Willie the Rabbit, not Willie Wagtail. So, and it just took off from there. And another one was Johnny Myers at Mount Hope, and their story was Willie was trapping rabbits on the farm they were on, and they took Willie to Cummins for Christmas to do his late shopping.
Yep.
And they got home and Mum had the turkey, Mrs Myers had the turkey and everything else, and they were unloading the car. And she said to the family, oh, I better go into the kitchen and get a knife and we'll dress the turkey. Well, by the time she got back, Willie got his old rabbit knife and he dressed the turkey. And apparently Dad had to take Willie in tow and put him in the car and take him home before the volcano erupted. But you know.
And another one that really took off was that Deep's, not sure if it's a water hole or a sinkhole.
And there must be a lot of local stories about it.
Well, there was a lot of people who had the old myths, whether they're myths or not.
Well, George,
people disappearing.
George Dorwood from North Shield, you know, the famous white beard George Dorr.
Yeah.
He was a shepherd on Copio. I've just found out that recently, Copio Station.
Really?
And George Dorwood's brother drowned, I think, in that. You know, that might be a reason why people don't talk about it too. So, but yes, that is a very interesting Eyre Peninsula story.
But certainly it's interesting how the media landscape has changed so much that you can get someone such as yourself, who's an individual there with access to the internet and a computer, who and an interest.
That's my what would you say? That's the genre I use, and that's all I'm good at.
And if people share your interest, then it can grow into something like, how many members are there of the group?
About 15,000.
About 50,000.
I don't know how many are practicing members, but yeah.
But I mean, the mainstream or traditional media is really, really expensive to do. And even the Port Lincoln Times, which is a big and powerful, well, certainly it was, newspaper, peaked at 6,500.
Yeah.
So 15,000 is more than double that.
Well, we've included, of course, our area goes from Eucla in the west to Port Augusta in the east, and everywhere underneath.
And for the reason that you can do that is because you don't have to worry about distribution.
Well, what I found, like a little place, and you get a lot of Lake Wangari and Lower Eyre Peninsula in it. That's because that's where I come from and that's what I know. And I had a funny one, I'm also administration on the Central Eyre Peninsula. And a fella says to me, on the page said to me, he said, you don't know anything about Central Eyre Peninsula, do you? And I said, no, but I'm learning. The only reason I took on that administration was the page looked like folding, and she just couldn't get anyone from around Woodner or... I've got a big trouble. I know Central Eyre Peninsula ends at, say, Poochera on this side, but I don't know where it ends on the other side. That's
probably about Kimber, probably.
Yeah, anything I dodge now is like Cow, Arno Bay. You can't really call them Central Eyre Peninsula because they're... But
also it's a matter of an individual's interest or an interest like that, having someone who's really interested in it and can sustain the
well, it's like
page.
the latest story today on the Central Eyre Peninsula page.
Yeah.
I had a photo of all the little mosquito fleeter farm trucks delivering grain.
Yep.
Now, that was in 1958. Kimber had bulk handling. And then I added a photo from Lorraine Lewis, another great supporter of the page. Lorraine Lewis, on her mum and dad, they had the Minnipa, and it was all bags in 1958. And they did something like, at Minnipa, 100,000 plus bags. Well, would have made Dougie a bit of money, but... All the other ones have adopted it, like Lock Heritage Museum. They are fantastic.
Yep.
The Cow, I think's got 2 museums. They're fantastic.
Yep.
And we got 2 here, but I never get much out of the motor museum.
Oh, right. Yep.
Don't really. I think they think the page is not about them, but it is too.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's not really specific, really, is it, apart from geographically?
And it's what people make of it. That's right. And that's what comes out. I can in no way censor or what. Oh, well, you do a little bit, but not. It's what comes in. Yeah. And I'm a bit of a drug addict.
You're not commissioning pieces? But
no, I'm a bit of a drug addict with photos.
Yeah.
I'm always after the next lot of photos that come in, you know.
Big time. And in fact, I find it's a terrific resource for when it's got that little search function on it, and you can search on the page for all the stuff that people have shared.
Yeah.
And what's in people's private collections is extraordinary, and it's much bigger.
The families hold the key.
Than what any museum's got. Yeah, they do.
And you know, I remember Streaky Bay about 2 weeks ago, we were sitting there going through photos, unknown photos. And you know, if we can't identify them, they'll probably end up getting thrown out.
Definitely.
I think I got a different... Well, it's a lot like my blog, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
because it comes up with, you know, I can be doing a story and then it gets an offshoot on it, and
Well, it does actually, and then you end up with a whole string of comments and...
yeah, and it goes off on a tangent, you know. And I think the difference between us, say, and the Portlingon History Group is we're a public page,
Yes.
whereas they're a, you know, you've got to get everything okayed before it gets on the page.
Well, you have an administrator too now.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, we're similar now because we're getting too much rubbish in with it.
Getting a bit of political stuff in there, that's right.
Yeah. But no, they are great support, particularly some of them I'll commend is Ashley Cowley.
Yeah, he's great, isn't he?
He has been a magic support to our page. And Chris Mandel.
Chris is a great man. Have you ever upset anyone?
Eh?
Ever upset anyone with EP yarns?
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
You go to Portlingon?
Yeah.
You probably won't get much good said about me. I work off,
I'm talking about with EP yarns.
yeah, I work off old Perce Bailey. You would have heard of Perce Bailey.
No, I haven't, sorry.
He was one of the original historians.
Oh, right.
And you see, the mob in Portlingon History Group, they're definite. They're museum based, I call them.
Yes.
Whereas I'm just a page. I volunteer at the museum,
Oh, yeah.
like the Streaky Bay National Trust
Yeah.
Museum. I would, as a final comment, I would love to, I would love people to go home, look in their drawers, their cupboards. Don't throw out those photos. Put them on the page. If you don't know who's in them, ask help wanted and put them on it.
Because people will jump in and help gladly.
Yes, and there's about probably half a dozen pages on Eyre Peninsula, so that, you know, someone might remember them, even if you don't.
And what year did you start the page?
Oh, I don't know what year.
Wasn't that long ago.
No, I've been...
About 5 years
since
ago?
I come down here virtually.
4 or 5 years?
Yep, 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
15,000 already.
Oh, we used to...
Now, just wait there and I'll get a drone. Sorry, yeah, go on. Just wait
We
there.
used to joke about it, and we'd put up a sign with every 1,000.
Yeah.
And then there was just too many.
It's going up too fast, I think.
Yep.
Righto, thanks very much.
No.
Good job, Neil.
Yep. Do you want to hand packing this up or?
See, there we go.
Oh, yeah.
And then if we want, we can bring him around to the right and have a look at the jetty.
That's your job.
Okay, yeah.
My genre's stills.
Yeah. Now, I just got to...
I'd love to have one though, Derek. Even these other things they're advertising now, you know, little clip-on things for your phone.
Oh, they're amazing.
They're worth it.
Oh, they're all amazing, yeah.
$300, so.
Yeah. No, the technology that's available for this sort of thing, absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Oscar, you're a dude. Zane, you're also a dude. You're not a dude.
Thanks, Derek.